Hello everyone, and welcome to this demo of Stormux, specifically the X86 version. This is a version of Arch Linux that you can install on generic computer hardware. There is also another version for the Raspberry Pi, and if there's interest, I can record a demo for that as well. But let's talk about what this is before I get started. So Stormux, I don't really know how you pronounce it, is a distribution of Arch Linux made specifically for a blind user. The person that makes it, I believe he is totally blind. And yeah, so as such, it comes up talking and things like that. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't recommend using something like this because a lot of the time these types of versions get very outdated very quickly, and I believe in the past it wasn't recommended to actually update them and things like that because they might break because I guess there were special customizations made to them. But this is actually pretty cool, and it's pretty much pure Arch Linux, except it talks, and it is significantly easier to set up, which I will show you. In fact, this is so easy to set up, it still blows my mind. But I thought this would be good, and well, and the other reason, of course, is you never know how long these types of projects will stay around because, especially if they're being maintained by, say, one or two people, then yeah, you might have problems if those people quit. But I think this is pretty cool, and I suppose it should be said that you might as well enjoy it as long as it lasts, right? And I guess that's true of life in general. Try to enjoy things as much as you can while you can and while they last. So, having said that, I'm going to get into this. Now, just a brief discussion on Arch before we get started. I talked about this before in my prior demos, but the idea with Arch is that it is a rolling release type of system. So what happens, you install it once and continuously update it. In fact, it gets updated software pretty much every day and multiple times throughout the day. So you're never really upgrading your system as a whole. You're upgrading parts of your system over time. And you just keep going perpetually, basically, until, I guess, something breaks or it doesn't. And yeah, so in that respect, it is very much like Chrome OS or Chrome OS Flex because you just install it, it's installed, and it continuously gets new updated builds. So that's that can be great because the great thing about that is your system is always up to date. So unlike something like Debian or Ubuntu, you don't have to wait, say, 2 years between a major new version to get a bunch of new software. So having said that, let's actually get started with this. Now, I have a computer here. I'm going to install this on, it's an HP computer from 2012. It's got an i5 3330 So yeah, it's about a 2012 processor. So I'm going to turn it on. Now I have to stand up and do this, so give me a second. You might not be able to hear me as well. I'm going to walk over here and turn on the computer. Now, let's switch my KVM over. Turn on the mixer. You'll hear the computer booting. And okay, I wanted you to hear those beeps. Hopefully you can hear them. Hopefully the microphone is picking them up decently. But of course the computer is a few feet away from my microphone, and so it might not come through as clearly as I would like it to. But if your computer has a PC speaker, it will beep like that to tell you that it's actually loading, which is a nice feature. At this point, we are just going to wait until it comes up talking, so I might as well talk and not make you sit here and wait in silence. I've tested this on computers that have UEFI and legacy BIOS, and it works on both of them. This computer is from 2012, so it came with Windows 8 and UEFI, I'm pretty sure. I've also installed this on a 2009 computer that was an HP Z200 with an Intel Xeon processor, and it worked just fine. The only thing about UEFI is you'll probably want to go in and turn off
If this
secure
is loud
boot.
enough, press enter.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to Stormux. Let's get you set up. Please press enter to continue.
Alright, so this is going to be a bit loud, and I do apologize for that. I'm not sure how I can turn it down, actually, because the usual volume controls I seem to use in the system don't seem to work right now. But the installer has loaded. The first thing you hear are prompts telling you to press enter when it's loud enough, and excuse me, it will continue to increase the volume and speak that message, and basically you press enter when you think it's loud enough and you can hear it. The next thing you heard was a message telling you to press enter to continue, which I'll do in just a minute here, once I finish what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Excuse me. So this will work on both BIOS and UEFI computers, but if you're using UEFI, you will more than likely need to disable secure boot in your UEFI settings, and that's going to require sighted help because obviously those menus don't talk to you. I would disable it for a couple of reasons. The first one being I don't think this will boot with it, because I don't think this has support for the certificates that are there. And number two, the certificates on these older computers from 2011, 2012, and beyond, they are set to expire by the end of this year. So I think it's like by October of 2026 they will expire. And what's supposed to happen is Microsoft is supposed to update the certificates on supported machines through Windows updates, and it's supposed to happen automatically. But I don't know if that works on machines that are running Windows 11 unofficially. And supposedly you can update the certificates yourself by going into the firmware and doing stuff. I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't want to break something. So I find it's just much easier to turn it off. And so that's what I would recommend that you do with these older computers. Just turn it off because you probably don't need it. And if you leave it on, I think it's going to cause problems in the future with like trying to install install operating systems and things like that, because it'll probably have a hissy fit because it can't check that the systems are secure and haven't been tampered with, because that's what Secure Boot does to my knowledge. It basically checks the certificates in the software that you're trying to install against stuff in the firmware, and if it doesn't match, it won't boot it because it thinks it's not trustworthy. So yeah, I would say especially for older computers, just turn that off. Obviously, if you have if you have an officially supported computer running Windows 11, it should update those certificates automatically. But of course, this video is not about Windows, so if you're listening to this, you probably don't care about Windows anyway, or you want to try something else besides that. So there's my rant on that. Just something to be aware of. Alright, so I'm going to press enter, and I do apologize if this is a bit loud. I will try to turn the volume down once the system is actually installed. Hopefully this won't be too loud.
Would you like to switch firmware to laptop layout? Press Y for yes or N for no, followed by enter.
Okay, so question number 1, do you want to use the console reader firmware in laptop layout? I think this uses the Windows key instead of the insert key for the modifier. So this could be useful if you're using a laptop. I am not. This is a desktop. I have a desktop keyboard. So I'm going to type no. I'm going to press the letter N and hit enter. And I think I've said this before, but the super key in Linux land is the Windows key. So if you hear super, that usually means you hit the standard key on your keyboard that opens the start menu in Windows. So I'm going to hit N.
N. No internet connection detected. Press enter to open Network Manager.
Okay. Now, I recommend using Ethernet. It is faster, and if you already have it hooked up with a cable, it'll just work. But I wanted to show you this specifically because lots of people probably just use Wi-Fi. And so it's telling me I don't have an internet connection. I'm going to press enter.
Wired activate.
Okay. It brought up a screen here, and I can up and down arrow.
This is where you should star. This is where you should start. Get off me with it star.
So you would up and down arrow to the network that you wanted and press enter.
Authentication required by wireless network. Passwords or encryption keys are required to access the wireless network. Get off me with it. Password.
And yes, my Wi-Fi name is get off my Wi-Fi. That's the main one. And the guest network is called This Is Where You Should Be. Yes, I thought it was quite funny, and I still think it is. Definitely makes it unique compared to all the people around here using generic networks.
Cancel password.
Okay, so I was just hitting the up and down arrows, and you can cancel out of here, but I'm going to type my password.
Star.
So it just says star.
Star.
And once I type that in, I'm going to hit enter.
Soundbar setup F5 wired connection 1. Star get off me with it star.
Yeah,
Wired deac.
Okay, I think the star means it's connected. There's a network in here that says soundbar setup. I don't know what that is that might be someone else's, or it might be something we have in the house that's not configured. So once you choose your network, you hit the right arrow.
Deactivate target off me with it quit.
And you want to right arrow until you hear quit and hit enter.
Updating the clock to prevent certificate errors. Current date and time. Sat Feb 14.
Alright, it's going to tell you the time. I'm going to skip this. Or I'm just going to hit the control key. Now it wants to know your time zone. So if you up and down arrow.
America, Antarctica, Arctic, Asia, Atlantic, Australia, Brazil, CDT, CST 6, CDT, Canada, Chile, Cuba.
Right, you can choose your, I think this is your region. So in my case, I want to choose America. So I'm going to go back up with the up arrow.
Chica, CST, Brazil, Australia, Asia, Arc, Antar, America. Please select a city near you.
Now it wants a city near me. Now I'm in Texas, so that's going to be Central Time. So we want to choose Chicago.
Anchorage, Anguilla, Antigua, Araguain, Cayman, Chicago, plus 19.
Now the beeps you're hearing, those are progress bars in Fenrir. You'll be hearing that quite a lot as we install. So we make sure I'm on it. I'm going to go...
Cayman, Chicago.
Yep, okay, so I just went... I went up one and down one to check.
Would you like to run the Stormux installer? Y/N.
Okay, next question. Do you want to run the installer? If you don't, it puts you at a shell, and you can do whatever you want. I'm going to hit yes.
Y.
I'm going to hit Y.
Stormux installer for Arch Linux. Accessibility - first system installation. Info. Stormux installer started. Info. Installation log. /tmp/install -stormux.log. Info. Stormux installer -pre-flight checks. Info. Checking for root privileges. Info. Root check passed. Info. Detected UEFI boot mode. Info. Checking for required tools. Info. All required tools present. Info. Checking internet connectivity. Info. Internet connection verified. Info. All pre-flight checks passed. Info. Disk selection. Select target disk for Stormux installation. Available disks. SDA 465.8 G disk HDST 725.
Okay, I'm going to stop that. You can let it read as much as you want, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use some navigation commands here. Now, because I'm using a desktop keyboard, I'm going to hit numpad 7 and 9 to move by lines. Numpad 7 goes to the previous line of the output. Numpad 9 goes to the next. If you're using laptop layout, I think it's Super U for prior line, O for next line, things like that. So
9 cancel 8 SDH. Sets 1 SDH 0B.
Okay, so the first question is, what disk do you want to install to?
1 SDA, 2 SDB, 3 SDC.
So you'll be given a choice of numbers here, and you have to choose the right disk. If you read up the screen,
2 SDF SDA 465.8 G disk SDB 931.5 G disk SDC 931.5 G disk WDC WD SDD 57.6 G disk.
Okay, so the main disks in this computer are two 1 terabyte drives and a 512 gigabyte drive. These are all platter drives. These are not SSDs. But because this is Linux, it should actually run pretty well, because it's not nearly as resource intensive as Windows 10 or Windows 11. So you have to make a choice, and for me, it's going to be SDA. So I'm going to hit 1.
1. Info. Selected disk. /dev/SDA. Warning. All data on /dev/SDA will be destroyed. Current partition layout. Name maj:\min.
Okay. So this is important.
Type YS SDA28: type YS in capital letters to confirm destruction of /dev/SDA.
Okay. I already have a system installed here, but I don't care about it. I'm going to replace it with this one. And actually, I should have said before, when I turned on the computer, it's actually set to boot from the flash drive first. But if it's not, you'll have to go into your boot menu, and that could be pressing F12, F8. It just depends on the computer. But you press that button when the computer is starting up, and you choose the flash drive to boot from. So now it wants me to confirm that all data will be deleted on this disk, and that's important. This is not designed to coexist with another operating system. It's designed to totally overwrite what is on the computer. So if you're installing this on a real computer like I am, you want to be very careful and make sure that you're choosing the right thing, because your disk will be deleted. So I'm going to type yes in capital letters.
YES.
And hit enter.
Info. User confirmed destruction of /dev/SDA.
Alright. We're gonna... Alright, so...
Two separate what? Choose your partition layout.
Okay, next question. Choose your partition layout. Honestly, for new users, I would just go with number 1.
One single partition root only, /home in root partition, 3 separate home disk root on one disk, /home on another. 2 separate home partition root plus /home on same disk for cancel.
You can also choose to have /home, which is your user information generally, on a separate partition on the same disk or a different disk. Or you can have the system on one disk and your user data on a completely different one. I'm just going to use number 1, which just puts everything on the same disk and in the same partition, which is what I recommend in most cases, unless you have a very specific need for something else.
1. Info. Select.
Okay.
Enter host name for the new system.
So I'm just reading up the screen here. Next question is the host name. This is the name that will appear. It will appear basically on your local network, and it will be what the computer is called and what other devices see when they look at your device on the network. This can be really anything you want. Let's call it Arch.
ARCH info. Host name set to Arch. Enter root password.
Alright.
Enter root password.
Next question is the root password. Unfortunately, you can't leave these blank, so you have to type in something. So let's make a root password here.
Confirm root password.
So we type it in twice.
Info. Root password set. Info. User account setup. Press enter without typing a username when done adding users. Enter username or press enter to finish.
Okay. This is where you can create additional users. I would highly recommend you do this. Using root is not recommended, and in fact, I will be locking the root user after this installation. Root is basically has all permissions, can do anything on the computer, which is very bad if it's in the wrong hands, right? You don't give someone the keys to the kingdom unless he or she absolutely needs it and knows what he or she is doing. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a standard user called, in this case, Chris.
CHRIS. Enter password for Chris.
I'm going to type my password. It's a very long password. And just in case you're curious, my passwords are passphrases, or at least the ones that I keep in my head and don't use a password manager for. They are passphrases of multiple words that include profanity. So have fun trying to hack those.
Confirm password for Chris.
Alright, it wants the password again, just to confirm.
Should Chris have root privileges sudo access y/n?
Okay, next question. This is important. Should Chris have sudo privileges? In this case, I want to say yes, but depending on your usage, you may not want to do that. It's basically lets you run commands with root privileges. So if you need to update the system or change files that your user can't access, this is how you do it. So I'm going to hit Y. And enter.
Chris will have sudo access. Info. User Chris will be added to wheel group. Info. Added user. Chris. Enter username or press enter to finish.
Right, and then we're taken back to this prompt. So if you wanted to have multiple users, you could do that. Like say this was a computer that you were going to share with someone. Maybe you want to make yourself an admin, but you want to make, I don't know, your kids or your wife or your husband, maybe you want to make them non-admins because they don't know what they're doing on the computer and they shouldn't be messing with admin stuff. You can make a standard user. You just type a name and password. And I mean, truth be told though, I don't know if I would recommend using Arch Linux unless you're technically competent or you have someone that can help you constantly, but that's another discussion. So in this case, I don't want to make additional users. I'm going to hit enter.
Info. Finished adding users. Total 1 users to be created.
Right, it's just going to tell me blah blah blah. I don't care. I'm going to hit the control key.
Remate traditional to select desktop environment.
Okay, next question. Select desktop environment.
1 console only Fenrir screen reader.
Console, this would just boot into a terminal and you'd have to do everything by typing commands. Probably not what you want unless you just want a command line environment. Maybe you're hosting a server. Again, I'm not sure I'd recommend using Arch Linux as a server platform just because of how frequently updates come out. You might have some stability problems, but that's up to you. So we have that.
2 i3 tiling window manager.
i3 is a window manager with accessibility enhancements made to it to make it keyboard friendly. This one's a little strange. I'm not going to use this. Maybe if you guys really want, I can do a demo of it, but it's a little complicated to understand, but once you do, it's kind of cool. But I think I still prefer using
Remate traditional desktop.
Mate. So let's choose Mate, or it says Mate, but I'm pretty sure it's Mate. This is the graphical desktop environment, the one that seems to work the best for a blind user.
Enter desktop number.
Right, and it tells me to type a number. So I'm going to hit 3.
3 info.
All right.
Install Linux-game-manager native Linux games y/n.
Next question. Install Linux Game Manager. This is a program very similar to Audio Game Manager. Lets you play and manage games that run on Linux. I'm going to choose no.
Info. Linux Game Manager will not be installed. Install Audio Game-Manager Windows games via wine y/n.
And the next question, of course, is install Audio Game Manager, which I already demoed. I'm going to choose no. I don't really want that. I don't know if it's gotten more stable, but last I tried it, it was kind of a mess. And I think the problem, too, is Wine is being upgraded to a new version, so that might be causing problems. So I'm just going to hit no.
Info. Audio.
All right.
Enable SSH server SSHD on boot. Y/n.
Next question. Enable SSH server on boot. This is an SSH server. It lets you log into the computer across the network and use a command line to do things. I'm going to choose no for right now. I don't really need that for this. But the beautiful thing about this is Arch Linux which gives you the freedom to do anything you want. So if you change your mind, you can always do things later. So I hit no.
Info. SSH server will not be enabled. Press enter to use this time zone. Detected time zone. America/Chicago.
Okay. Next thing, it verifies your time zone. I'm going to hit enter. That's correct.
Info. Time zone set to time zone. Time. SSH enabled. No. Times as the users post a configuration summary.
Okay, now you get a configuration summary.
Host name, Arch, users, Chris, desktop, mate, SSH enabled, no time zone, America/Chicago. Press enter to continue with installation.
And at this point, it is automated.
Info, partitioning disks. Info,
And
creating UEFI.
this is going to be very chatty. I recommend that you turn off the speech. You can either do that with, well, at least in desktop layout, that's numpad 0 or insert
Creating journal.
and enter.
Auto read disabled.
You can do that. You can hit nrear F4 to turn off the speech. And what you're hearing right now are progress beeps. It is going out to the internet and downloading stuff. And hopefully it should finish. Now, because I'm using Wi-Fi, this is going to take a while.
Auto read enabled. Brave-bin-1:1.86.142- Brave-bin auto read disabled.
Right, so it's downloading stuff. And this computer has a very crappy Wi-Fi card, so it's going to take a while. Now I'm going to mute and come back once this is done. The only other thing I will say is make sure that you type passwords into those boxes. Don't leave them blank because the installation will fail if you do that. So make sure that you set passwords. So, having said all that, let's go back over here to my main computer. And I will pause the recording. Basically, this is going to download and install a whole bunch of stuff. When it's done, it will tell you it's done and drop you back at the shell. At that point, you could use a command like power off or reboot to reboot the system, and you can continue. So that's what I'm going to do. But right now, I'm going to pause, so I will be back. Okay, I'm back, and I had to connect to Ethernet because it didn't install properly over Wi-Fi. I think my Wi-Fi connection is too slow on this computer. So you're hearing progress beeps right now. It is almost done. If I go back over here.
2 tilde. Auto read NA 2 tilde. 699/699 installing Orca 31 #2.
Okay, it's almost done. So, or I think it is. I hope it is.
Running post 4/25 skipped. Running.
There it goes.
13 40.
It just shouldn't take too much longer. But yeah, this is significantly faster on Ethernet because we have a gigabit connection.
Arrow right.
So things go fast generally.
Metadata cap 20/20. 20 call to.
Yeah, whatever.
26/27 updating the info directory file.
Right. And it's still doing stuff.
Created. Speech. Tested. Text raise up to.
It's checking the repositories.
Packages to w3m-git- info. Unmounting file system. Installation log say in root at Storm. Press. Installation log say 3. Login with 2-1x. Installation complete successfully. Right.
I'm just reading the screen here.
Next steps. 1. Remove the installation media. 2. Reboot your system. 3. Log in with one of your user accounts. Installation log saved to /tmp/install-stormux.log.
There's a log if you want to read it.
Press enter to exit. Thank you for choosing Stormux. Root at.
You're welcome. Yeah, the way that voice does exclamations is crazy. Oh, also, if you hit backspace in these terminals, you might hear your computer make a beeping noise if it has a PC speaker. So let's do.
Stopping session 2.
I'm going to type power off. That turns off the computer. I'm going to go unplug my flash drive and turn it back on. So give me just a minute. And there we go. Let's fire it up and see what happens. So it should boot. And this actually, this will automatically log you in by default, which is fine if you like that. If you don't, there are ways to turn that off, and I'll show you. So this demonstration is almost over because I'm not going to get too much into the weeds unless you guys want more parts to this. But basically, the system has been installed. At least as of right now, it is completely up to date. So when you install this, because of it being the nature of Arch Linux, it will have downloaded all the current packages that were available at the time of installation. Now, tomorrow, that may not be true anymore because, like I said, updates come out constantly. Right, so you heard Orca start and the Fenrir console reader. So now I can hit Control-Alt-D.
Desktop icon view, computer icon, Chris's home icon, trash icon.
And here we are in Mate. If I hit Alt F1.
Left up. Applications internet menu. Brave internet menu.
This doesn't really come with a whole lot. I think it just comes with Brave and the stock utilities for Mate. If you install i3, it comes with some extra stuff, I believe, but it's still pretty minimalist. Because the idea with this is it gives you the bare bones environment to get started, and then you can customize things from there.
Escape. Trash icon.
So that's that. If I hit Control, so right now I'm in TTY7, which is the graphical environment. If I hit Control Alt and F1 through F6, I will cycle through the TTY terminals. So you can basically run a terminal environment. And in fact, you can run up to 6 at the same time, as well as your graphical environment. So if I hit Control Alt F1,
Arch Linux 6.18.9-Arch 1-2 Taiwan Arch Linux login.
Now you heard the voice changed. It is using it's using eSpeak for Orca, and I think this is RH voice for Fenrir. You can change those. In fact, I probably will. But I'm going to log in here.
CHRIS. Password.
I'm going to log in with my Chris user.
Chris at Arch Linux $.
There we go. Now I'm logged in. Let's take care of a few things here. First of all, I'm going to change to using eSpeak. So I'm going to hold down Insert and hit the left arrow.
Speech voice and -us.
And again.
Speech module.
eSpeak-NG.
And while I'm holding down Insert, I'm hitting down arrow to change it to eSpeak NG.
Speech voice and -us. Speech rate 0.5.
That's fine. Yeah, this is fine. Now to save my settings, I'm going to hold down Insert, then Control,
Settings save.
and S. That should save my configuration for Fenrir. All right, let's take care of a few things, and then I will wrap this up. Number one, we need to disable the root user. You shouldn't be able to log in as root. So I'm going to do sudo
sudo
PASS
PASS
WD,
WD
and then I'll type root.
ROO
Oh, wait a minute.
D D
No,
D D
that would change the password.
D D D
Wait. Okay.
SUDO PASSWD
Dash L,
L
and then the name of the account I want to lock. So we'll do root.
ROOT. We trust you have received the usual lecture from the local system administrator. It usually boils down to these three things. #1 Respect the privacy of others. #2 Think before you type. #3 With great power comes great responsibility. For security reasons, the password you type will not be visible. Sudo password for Chris.
And I love that blurb that it gives you the first time it wants your password. This is very true. So I'm going to type my password for my user account, and it's going to perform this root task.
Password changed. Chris at ArchLinux still $1.
All right, there. So now the password for root shouldn't work. So like if I try to log in as root, so I'm going to type, actually let's do it in TTY2. So I'll hit Control Alt and F2.
ArchLinux 6.
So now if I type in root
ROOT password
and type my root password,
login incorrect. ArchLinux login.
right, that doesn't work
ArchLinux
because the password has been locked. Now I believe if you run that same command again, but instead of adding a -L, you do -U, that will unlock it. Or you can simply change the password by typing sudo pass wd root. It would ask you to change the password, and I believe that would also unlock the account and let you log into it. But I do not want people to log in as root. That is very dangerous. So that's what we're going to do. Let's see, next couple things here. Let's install some software. And I'm not going to get too in-depth as to what this is. This might be good for a part 2 if there's enough interest. But in Arch Linux, primarily you'll be getting software from the official repositories, and if you want, from the Arch user repository, which is a community-driven repository of programs that are not compiled as packages, but they're source code. And to help you with that, there are programs called AUR helpers, and one such of these is installed with this system. It's called Yay, Y-A-Y. But the default package manager in Arch Linux is called Pacman, P-A-C-M-A-N. So I'm going to use Yay because this will cover both. If you want to update the software on your system, you can type
Y-A-Y
Yay space. So that's just Y-A-Y dash capital S, and then you can do YU, or if you do YYU, that does the same thing, but YYU will download the repository data again, even if it looks like it is up to date. So if I just run if I just run this,
extra is up to date, extra is up to date, search it, there is nothing to do, extra is up to, core is up to, Stormux is up to date, synchronizing package databases.
Okay, basically there is nothing to do because I have all the current software installed. If I do yay.
Y-A-Y dash S.
And yes, the S in this command is capitalized. That is important to know when you're working with this package manager inside of Arch Linux.
Y-Y-U.
Well, let's run the same thing, but add a Y to it. So two Y's and then a U.
Colon synchronizing extra 3.8 MB 3.36. There is not colico X core 123.6 KIB extra 7.9 MB Stormux 12.0 KIB colon synchronizing.
It basically downloaded the repository data again, even though it thought it was up to date before. So this is useful if you just want to be absolutely sure that you're getting the current list of software. So that's how you do that. If there were things in there, it would ask me if I wanted to proceed with the upgrade. You can hit enter. It will ask you if you want to exclude packages. I don't recommend doing that, so just hit enter again, and then it will ask you if you want to confirm. You type Y and hit enter, and it will upgrade the system. And yeah, so that's how that works. Now, this particular version of Arch Linux has a repository called Stormux. This is where some packages like the Brave browser are, and this is obviously hosted by the developer who makes this. So what you may find is sometimes some packages like Brave, right now Brave is slightly out of date, so we have to wait for him to update that. And then when he does, you can check for updates again, and you will just get the new version of Brave. Now, of course, because this is Arch, of course, you don't have to do that. You could change things. You could get rid of the Stormux repository entirely. That is the beauty of using this. So this installer makes it easy to install the system, but you still have complete control. So I think that is fantastic. So let's do a couple more things here. I'm going to install some software, and the way you do that is you do YAY or sudo pacman. So these commands will work the same if you're using yay or pacman. If you're running pacman, you have to run that with sudo because it has to run as root. You don't need to do that with yay, though. You can just run yay, and if it needs root privileges, it will ask you to type your password. The difference is pacman will not search the AUR. It will only look at your repositories that are configured, but they basically do the same thing. So yay, yay does the same thing as pacman, but it can also it can also retrieve and update packages from the AUR. So that's the difference. Pacman just downloads from the official repositories like core and extra, and I think it also does Stormux because that's technically considered a repository. And yay will do that, and of course it will also download packages from the Arch user repository. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's wrap this demo up with a look at how to install software. So I happen to know, because I've actually done this before, and I don't think it's installed. This does not install Network Manager Applet, which is a graphical tool that shows you things like your connection status in Mate. So I'm gonna do yay
Y-A-Y
dash S
dash S.
or capital S. This tells it that I want to install something. I'll hit the space bar. And let's install a few programs here. Let's see, VLC.
VLC.
So there's VLC Player. That is a very cool program that I think everyone should have. Let's get Firefox.
Firefox.
Because this doesn't come with Firefox. And how about Thunderbird?
Thunderbird.
And I'm just putting spaces in between these, and it's going to download them all. And let's get Network.
Network-Manager-Applet.
Applet.
Sync explicit for VLC sync explicit sudo passive Chris at archlid sync. There is not sync explicit for VLC sudo password for Chris.
It wants my password. We'll give it my password.
Resolving dependencies.
It's going to resolve all the stuff that it needs. This might take a few seconds.
Looking for conflicting packages. Packages 57A52 deck-0.8. Proceed with Toto. Thunderbird XCB VLC TQT5T Slib Libn pack. Looking for packages 57A52 deck-0.8.0-2 button dash.
Right, there's a bunch of stuff that it's going to pull in that it needs to run these programs.
libqt VLVX Thunderbird. Total download size 190.97 MB.
It tells me how big the download is.
Total installed size 733.43 MB.
About 190 megabytes to download, but then I guess when it's installed, it takes up a lot more space. So I'm going to hit Y.
Proceed with installation. Y/N.
Hit Y.
Y.
And press Enter.
Retrieving packages VLC button firelib
That should go pretty fast because of my
Firefox
connection.
Firefox -147.0.3
Yep, that's the latest version of Firefox. Thunderbird's going to get
Total
installed.
57/57/104/57 installing Thunderbird. Running post.
And let's check the terminal.
2/5 compiling G settings. 5 Chris at Arch Linux $1.
And it's done. That was pretty quick, actually. But that will depend on the speed of your connection and your computer hardware and things like that. But this is doing very well on a computer that is 13 years old. That's pretty good. So this computer is still very much usable. I don't care what Microsoft has to say. And in fact, Microsoft does not tell me what I can and cannot run on my computers, which is why I run Windows 11 on a bunch of computers that are officially unsupported but work just fine. So there's that. The last thing I want to do is show you how to turn off auto login if you don't want to do that. So if you type, so there's a thing that gets installed called NoDM, and it is enabled by default, and basically it starts the graphical session automatically when you boot. Now I don't want this, so I'm going to disable the service. So the command is
SUDOSYSTEMCTLDISABLE
disable, and then NODM.
NODM.
And of course you have to run that as root.
Removed / etc / system d / system / display dash manager dot service dot Chris at Arch.
Right, now it's gone. Let's reboot. And what should happen
REBOOT.
What should happen is I get put at a terminal and I have to log in with my username and password. So let's do that. And this will also give you a chance to see how quickly this computer boots. It's pretty quick for being some clunky old platter drives. It's not bad. I guess I'll just keep chattering to help you not go crazy from waiting. But yeah, that is pretty much how you get this configured, or well, at least how you get it installed.
Arch Linux 6.18.9-Arch1-2TTY1 Arch Linux login.
Yep, there we go. So now I can log in.
CHRIS password.
Log in with my username and password.
Chris at Arch Linux $.
Okay. At this point, you are using a command line only environment, which may be what you want. But if you want to start the graphical session, there are two ways. The first one is starting the NoDM service. Basically, we told it not to auto start when you boot the computer. But if you want to start it, you just do
SUDOSYSTEMCTL.
So basically the same command, except instead of typing disable or enable, you type start.
STARTNODM.
Right? It's going to ask me for my password.
Sudo password for Chris.
Because for some reason it has to run with root privileges.
Chris at Arch Linux $.
Now we went back to the shell, but if I wait here just a little bit, it should start the graphical environment. And in fact, it will set keyboard focus to it.
Screen reader on.
Yep, so now if I hit Control-Alt-D to go to the desktop.
Desktop. Icon view.
Yep, here we are. So now that is running in TTY7. The other way to do it is to go into the console, and instead of typing all that, you just type start X. That is STARTX without any spaces. And that doesn't require root privileges. It just starts your, well, so this is using I think it's called X11 as the graphical server. And in fact, this is using Xlib or Xlibre. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. That is a continuation of the X11 project, which I think is pretty cool and just demonstrates the power of open source software. Because it seems to me like the mainstream Linux community is trying to switch away from that to a newer system called Wayland, which has some accessibility problems and things like that. So I think it's great that there are people that are trying to keep a system going that has worked for a very, very long time. And of course, that is the power of using open source. So I think that's going to cover it for this. I'm just going to shut down this computer.
Left out. System menu. Log out Chris. Shut down. Shutdown button. Return.
And if you've listened to my demos on using Mate, it's basically the same. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But yeah, that is basically it. And I'm going to turn off the mix here. So yeah, that is how that works. I'm going to go back over here to my main computer. So yeah, that is a look at how you install and configure this at least to a basic level. Again, if you guys want some more demos, if you want me to demo how to do this on the Raspberry Pi, I can do that too. If you want me to demo how to do this using the standard Arch Linux ISO, I can do that too. That one is a bit more involved and not nearly as easy as this is. But if you want that, I can show you. I think it works better now, because last I tried it a couple months ago, it had problems where the speech would stop talking in the middle of trying to install it, and then that was a big problem, which is why this was made. But yeah, if you want me to do that, if you want me to make some more tutorials maybe on how to use Arch, how to do some other things with it, let me know. You can get this from stormux.org. That is stormux.org/downloads. Look for the it should say Stormux. I think it's X86 64.iso, and it should have a date and time, or a date stamp on the file. I think the current one right now is from January, but he periodically updates it to keep it keep it current. And that's actually the other thing that I should talk about briefly. You don't necessarily have to update your system every day. And in fact, it's probably not recommended to do that. But I would recommend doing it at least once or twice. Maybe once every week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Just because sometimes some packages might have bugs that will have been fixed if you just wait. Because, like I said, you basically get new software right as it comes out. So that can be a good thing, or it can be a bad thing, depending on what is happening. And the last thing, just to note, and I suppose this goes for pretty much anything, but probably especially true on something like Arch. Try to update it regularly, because I think if you let an Arch Linux system sit for, say, 2-3 months, maybe half a year to a year, and then you try to update it, it might not be able to update itself because you've waited so long. And I don't exactly know how that works, but I think it has something to do with it keeps track of changes, and if you wait too long, you incur an extremely long backlog of changes, and it might try to do something and not be able to do it because it doesn't have the software that it needs to actually make that change because you didn't update. So yeah, I would recommend try to update it at least once a month. But of course, if you're using this as either a daily driver or just playing with things like I do, you should be updating it way more than once a month. But having said all that, I hope you found this helpful. I'm sorry about my stutter. Hopefully it doesn't drive you too crazy. And yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you want me to do next. But until next time, you guys take care. Bye.